I was savoring my morning coffee on the porch of our weekend cabin, the scent of pine and the gentle creak nearby promising peace, when I heard the sharp rip of tape being slapped onto wood. Through the window, I saw a middle-aged woman with meticulously styled blonde hair and a clipboard marching to our front door. She plastered a bright yellow notice onto the oak door. My wife, Sarah, and I had refinished last month, stepped back to admire her work, and snapped a photo with her phone. Sarah, still in silk pajamas, opened the door, holding her steaming tea. The woman looked up with a smug grin. "You may want to rethink that," Sarah said calmly, gesturing at the notice. The woman rolled her eyes. "Ma'am, I'm Diana Fletcher, president of the Pine Ridge HOA board. Your unauthorized renovations violate Section 12.4 of our guidelines. This is a $2,000 fine notice." Sarah nodded. "I see. Have a wonderful day, Diana." Diana's jaw dropped at Sarah's composure, but she recovered, turned on her designer heels, and strutted to her white SUV with HOA president vanity plates. She had no idea she'd just made the biggest mistake of her power-hungry life. 6 months ago, Sarah and I bought this rustic cabin, drawn to its scenic lot nestled among towering pines and a babbling creek. Our city careers, hers as a federal judge, mine as a corporate lawyer, were demanding, and this place promised weekend escapes for hiking, reading, and relaxation. The cabin sat just inside Pine Ridge HOA boundaries, but the previous owner assured us the association was lax about weekend properties. Our upgrades were tasteful: forest green paint to enhance the rustic charm, a wooden porch swing for sunset views, new deck boards to replace rotting ones, and updated light fixtures from the 1970s. We'd had no HOA contact until Diana decided we were her new target. Over the next 3 weeks, Diana became our personal tormentor. Every Friday evening, she appeared at our cabin, clipboard in hand, hunting violations with detective-like zeal. She'd find us for unapproved flower beds, claiming they needed board approval. Another fine hit for our too modern porch light. She sent certified letters demanding we remove our bird feeder, citing wildlife disturbance. She measured our deck furniture for compliance with an obscure square footage rule and tried to fine us for parking in our own driveway, alleging it blocked the sidewalk. I grew furious, but Sarah stayed eerily calm, photographing Diana, filing notices in a folder labeled HOA correspondence, and saying she was documenting everything for a reason. Diana escalated, filing a complaint with the HOA board for an emergency hearing on our violations and reporting us to the county building department, alleging unpermitted structural changes. At the neighborhood summer barbecue, I overheard her by the potato salad, bragging to a crowd. "Those rule breakers think they can waltz into Pine Ridge and do whatever they want. I've put them in their place. The county's investigating, and the board's voting on enforcement next week." Our neighbor Jim, a retired postal worker grilling burgers, chimed in. "Oh, you mean Sarah and her husband? Sarah's great. She works at the federal courthouse downtown, a judge for 15 years. Handles property rights cases." Diana's smugness flickered. "Federal courthouse?" she asked, feigning casualness. Jim nodded. "Yeah, my daughter's a paralegal," says Judge Sarah Thompson's legendary for shutting down frivolous lawsuits. Diana's face drained of color. That evening, Diana's SUV idled outside our cabin for an hour, but she never emerged. Sarah chuckled, glancing out the window. "She's probably Googling me." Sarah, appointed to the federal bench 15 years ago after a stellar career in constitutional law, had argued before the Supreme Court and authored landmark property rights decisions. Known for her razor-sharp mind and unshakable calm, she was respected by colleagues and feared by attorneys. Diana, with her clipboard and petty fines, had picked a fight with someone who'd spent decades dismantling such tyranny. The next morning, Diana's usual Friday inspection didn't happen. She vanished for a week. I almost missed her predictable harassment, but Sarah just smiled knowingly. Jim stopped by while we tended our illegal flower garden, saying Diana had visited him, asking odd questions about Sarah's cases and whether she'd sued HOAs before. "Seemed rattled," he said. Sarah grinned. "How interesting." By Wednesday, gossip swirled. Mrs. Patterson, another neighbor, said Diana was calling board members nonstop, demanding emergency meetings. Another saw her car at the library for hours, likely researching what she should have before targeting us. Tuesday brought a new envelope with official HOA letterhead, signed by the entire board except Diana. It read, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, after review, All cited violations were improperly assessed. Your cabin improvements comply with guidelines and required no pre-approval. All fines totaling $4,200 are voided. We apologize for any inconvenience. The next HOA meeting was Thursday, and Sarah insisted we attend. I'd never seen her in full judge mode and was curious. She entered the community center in a navy blazer, carrying her leather briefcase, radiating quiet authority. The room hushed. Diana was absent from her usual front row seat. The board looked nervous, avoiding eye contact. Sarah listened silently as the board fumbled through their agenda. During new business, she stood. I propose a motion to review and revise the HOA's enforcement procedures. Too many residents face arbitrary fines and harassment exceeding the association's authority. I've drafted improvements aligning with federal housing regulations. The motion passed unanimously in under 30 seconds. 2 weeks later, Jim mentioned Diana had taken a leave of absence from the board, citing stress, and resigned as president. Sarah worked with the new leadership to draft rules limiting HOA overreach, establishing clear appeals, and mandating property rights training. The proposal passed unanimously. Diana's troubles snowballed. Property management firms distanced themselves from her consulting services. Her real estate license faced review after complaints about aggressive tactics with buyers. An audit, spurred by Sarah's reforms, revealed Diana had collected $30,000 in illegal fines from residents too intimidated to fight back. She faced personal liability for these, plus $12,000 in legal fees for her frivolous county complaint and $18,000 in homeowner refunds. 3 weeks later, a moving truck arrived at Diana's house. She was leaving Pine Ridge, her reputation in tatters. As she supervised the loading, she glanced at our cabin, her face a mix of anger and defeat. Sarah emerged with 2 lemonades, settling beside me on our porch swing, the one Diana had tried to find. The woman who thought she could bully us was gone, but our legal, compliant cabin remained. Diana learned the hard way. Some battles aren't worth fighting, especially against a federal judge specializing in property rights. At the emergency board meeting where her removal was finalized, she sat pale, hands trembling, as the board announced her liability. The vote to permanently remove her for abuse of authority and harassment passed unanimously. Our cabin stayed peaceful, our improvements untouched, and Pine Ridge became a fairer place, thanks to Sarah's quiet strength and a folder of evidence that turned a petty tyrant's campaign into her own undoing.